Paramount doesn't want them either, and honestly, can you blame them? The Meghan and Harry media dream is falling apart faster than anyone expected. Remember when they walked away from the royal family and everyone was like, whoa, they're really doing it? They had the world's attention, sympathy, and a fresh shot at building something massive. But now, that buzz is gone. Netflix has ghosted them, without even the courtesy of a goodbye. No statement, no closure, just silence. And in Hollywood, silence says more than any press release ever could. Back when the Netflix deal first made headlines, it sounded like the beginning of a media empire. $100 million. That's not startup money. That's you better deliver money. Everyone expected a flood of content, powerful documentaries, inspiring series, stuff that would reshape their image and prove they were more than just royal drama. Instead, the hype faded quickly. The docuseries didn't have staying power. The Invictus Games content didn't land the way they hoped. And Netflix, they were paying attention to every number behind the scenes. It wasn't just about one or two bad projects either. Insiders started talking. They said Archewell, their production company, was a mess internally. Poor communication, creative confusion, staff constantly coming and going. The stories weren't lining up with the polished image Meghan and Harry were selling. And in the streaming business, image is important, but consistency is everything. Netflix had to make tough decisions across the board, cutting back on high-risk, low-return ventures. The Sussexes, sadly, were one of them. And let's not forget the Spotify situation. That podcast deal collapsed in public. Archetypes was supposed to be Meghan's comeback moment, her shot at a meaningful platform outside the royal echo chamber. Instead, it fizzled out after a single season. Spotify execs straight up said it didn't live up to expectations. One failure is understandable. Two in a row? That's a pattern. And when both failures are tied to the same names, people stop looking at the platform and start pointing at the people. Now, they're floating the idea of a deal with Paramount Plus. But here's the thing, Paramount isn't desperate. They've seen the headlines. They know exactly what they'd be signing up for. Two media personalities with a mixed track record, inflated expectations, and a fan base that's grown more skeptical by the day. It's not just about fame anymore, it's about trust. Can Meghan and Harry actually deliver something that sticks? The scary part? They had the advantage. When they stepped away from Buckingham Palace, they had full control of their story. That's rare. Most celebrities never get to flip the script like that, but somehow they lost it. The messaging got murky, the projects felt hollow, the audience sensed it, and Hollywood definitely noticed. You can't build an empire on buzz alone. Eventually, the content has to speak for itself. And right now, there's a lot of talk, but not much else. Meghan is reportedly pitching lifestyle shows again. Maybe something unscripted, maybe a podcast comeback, but in an industry that thrives on momentum, pitching from a place of desperation is a tough sell. Every network exec knows the Netflix door didn't just close, it slammed shut, quietly but firmly. And now, with the leak that Netflix canceled season 2 of their docuseries without even an official statement, the message couldn't be clearer. The royal brand isn't bulletproof. It's fragile, and right now, it's cracking. Netflix didn't just walk away, they erased the Sussexes from their future lineup like they never existed. And the most brutal part, they did it in complete silence. No press release, no carefully worded statement, not even a polite thank you for your time. Instead, insiders confirmed that Netflix privately told Meghan and Harry there would be no second season of their docuseries. That's not a pause, that's a hard stop. When your own platform refuses to continue your personal story, that's more than a rejection, it's a reputation killer. For a brand built on image control, this kind of quiet dismissal cuts deep. Meghan especially has always been known for managing her public persona with surgical precision. Every appearance, every project, every interview strategically timed, polished, curated. But this, there's no spinning it. The silence itself is the story. It screams louder than any headline. And for someone who's tried so hard to own her narrative, this invisible breakup is the ultimate loss of control. The worst part is what this signals to everyone else in the industry. It's not just a show cancellation. It's a message to future collaborators, investors, and platforms that the shine has worn off. Once upon a time, having Meghan and Harry attached to a project guaranteed buzz, but now producers see risk, not reward. The two biggest streaming platforms in the world have walked away, and that pattern is hard to ignore. Hollywood doesn't hand out second chances easily, especially when you've already burned through two of the biggest opportunities most people only dream about. When Netflix and Spotify both decide to cut ties, it's not a coincidence. It's a trajectory. And at this point, Paramount Plus isn't looking at the Sussexes like a hot commodity. They're analyzing risk, weighing whether the baggage is worth the brand heat. And honestly, it's not looking great. Insiders say Meghan is already working the pitch circuit again. Unscripted content, lifestyle projects, the kind of safe, influencer-style material she leaned into before royal life. But times have changed. The market is saturated, and viewers, they're harder to win over now. The public has been promised authenticity over and over, and what they got felt more like damage control wrapped in PR gloss. Even worse, the couple's strategy of staying quiet isn't helping anymore. When you vanish after a series of public flops, people don't assume you're regrouping, they assume you're spiraling. The same critics who once chased them relentlessly are now framing every silence as defeat. Every unconfirmed rumor becomes the new truth. Every former partner's distance is seen as a vote of no confidence, and when you lose control of the narrative in Hollywood, it's nearly impossible to get it back. Behind the scenes, the sense of urgency is real. Meghan and Harry know they're running out of time to prove their media empire is more than just an expensive idea. They know the longer they stay in limbo, the harder it gets to land their next opportunity. And now, with no major deal on the table and a growing list of underwhelming projects behind them, they're dangerously close to becoming industry cautionary tale. There's still talk, there's always talk, rumors of new content, new partnerships, maybe even a full rebrand. But the days of guaranteed headlines and blind faith are over. Platforms want numbers, not names. And unless the Sussexes can flip the script in a big way soon, they're going to find that every room they walk into feels a little colder than the last. Paramount Plus might be the last major door still cracked open, but even that one's hanging by a hinge. The execs over there aren't blind. They've read the coverage. They've watched the numbers. They know the pattern. Two massive platforms gave Meghan and Harry golden opportunities, and both ended in silence and regret. So if Paramount is considering any kind of deal, it's with extreme caution and probably one foot already out the door. The stakes are higher now than ever before, not just for their next project, but for their whole brand. This isn't about some show or podcast. It's about whether anyone still believes in what Meghan and Harry are selling. The narrative has shifted completely. Once seen as bold disruptors stepping away from the royal family, they're now being described by insiders as unpredictable, inconsistent, and a little too obsessed with controlling the message. The industry doesn't want glossy anymore. It wants raw, it wants results. And the Sussexes haven't been delivering either. Their content lacks depth, their storytelling feels sanitized. There's this constant sense that they're more focused on image maintenance than genuine creation. It's all perfectly packaged, but it doesn't connect. And in a media space that thrives on connection, that's a fatal flaw. Behind the scenes, even the people who once championed them are going quiet. Former collaborators have stopped defending them publicly. People who once believed they were building a mission-driven empire are privately admitting they're unsure what the mission even is anymore. The branding doesn't match the output. The messaging feels hollow. And that's exactly how audiences have started to feel too. Disconnected. Meghan is reportedly leaning toward a solo pivot, back to the curated influencer vibe that built her audience pre-royal family. Maybe a podcast, maybe a wellness series, maybe a lifestyle brand, but it's hard to reignite trust once it's been lost. Especially when your last few ventures fizzled out in full view of the world. Audiences aren't dumb. They see the pattern, and they're less forgiving every time. Harry, meanwhile, is in a tougher spot. Without a personal media identity outside of the royal story, he's become more of a supporting act than a leading figure. His name still draws attention, sure, but he hasn't carved out a niche that stands on its own. And unless he finds a distinct voice, something that resonates beyond royal nostalgia, his relevance in the media space will continue to fade. There's still value in the Sussex brand, but only if it's rebuilt from the ground up. That means transparency. That means stepping away from overly polished narratives and giving people something real, something flawed, something honest. Because right now, all anyone sees is two high-profile figures desperately clinging to a media dream that isn't working. And the worst part? They had it. The public was on their side. They had the sympathy, the attention, the platform. They could have written a new story, one of growth, of reinvention, of independence. But they tried to build a media kingdom on surface-level buzz and brand deals instead of substance. And Hollywood doesn't reward that forever. With Netflix out, Spotify gone, and Paramount unsure, they're on their last roll of the dice. If the next thing flops, or worse, never gets greenlit, it could be the final nail in the coffin for their production credibility. The question now isn't whether they'll bounce back, it's whether they still know how. Because this isn't just a rough patch, it's the unraveling of a crown they tried to craft in California. And right now, it's slipping straight through their fingers.